If you're a real estate agent that is struggling to convert leads, this video is going to help walk through how you can solve your number one biggest constraint in your sales conversion cycle. And you can fix this and it'll immediately increase your conversion ratio overall. And you can do this by not trying to recreate the entire wheel, but fix the number one biggest problem that's going to unlock the most money for you. Now, if you don't know who I am, you're new to the channel, my name is Christian Stubbs. I'm a team leader and owner of Onyx Homes. We have sold 780 some odd homes since 2020. And this is how I personally coached myself through selling over $1 million in GCI my first 2 years. But it's also how I do my team through this. Anytime we sit down and do a pipeline review, this is the framework that we walk through. So I'm going to be sharing my screen here with my iPad to walk you through exactly how we do this. And I'm just going to simply draw it out. But the first thing that I want to do is I want to help us understand that we are looking for the constraint, right? So what is a constraint? I also call this the kink in the hose, right? We all know that if we have a hose, water's running through, everything's going to be great. Well, the second you take that hose and you kink it, there will be no more water that can go through this point, right? So this is a kink in the hose. Just the same idea from a constraint perspective is if you have leads coming in and then they get bottlenecked here, but then you could close more on the back end, this portion right here, this is the constraint, and this is what we're going to work on. So a lot of us also, let me give another visual here, is a lot of us are familiar with a sales funnel. So a sales funnel is something that we talk about all the time, especially in real estate. In all sales, really, you're going to have this. And usually you're going to see a sales funnel that looks something like this. And you're going to have your bottom of the funnel. And then you're going to have the middle of the funnel. And then you're going to have the top of funnel, right? And most of your leads are going to be up here, right? Something like 93%. 3% of the leads are going to be down here at the bottom. And that leaves, what is this math? Something like 4 or 5% in the middle of the funnel. Doing public math here, but that's usually how most people look at a sales funnel, and then it kind of stops from there. And the idea is you move people down the sales funnel with your sales process, and then at the end of the day, you end up making money. So let's talk about how we can solve your current conversion problem, looking at this a little bit more in depth from a sales funnel. So I'm still going to look at a sales funnel. However, I'm going to write it out differently. Now, I'm going to talk about this from a buyer's perspective, but there's really no difference here. So let's draw the same exact funnel that we had before. And at the very, very top, we have to ask, are we generating leads? Now, as you're going through this, you can do this exercise along with me, is you're asking yourself the question, or I will rather ask you the question, is like, hey, do you have a lead conversion problem? Are you generating leads? So the question is, this is a yes or a no, meaning, do you generate leads? I mean, I hope you generate leads, but is this the number one problem? So we are looking for the number one constraint. It's like, well, I do generate leads, but not that many, but I don't feel like that's my number one problem, right? This is my number one constraint or number one problem is what we are looking for here. Right? So if you're like, well, yeah, I am generating leads. Okay, well, that's not a problem. The next thing we would look is, are you having conversations? Are you having convos, right? And same thing, yes or no here as well too. Are you having conversations with the leads that you are generating? And again, if the answer is yes, then we would continue going down this process. Now, the next one from here is, are you setting appointments, right? So you're generating leads, right? So we're generating leads. That's number one. Number two is, with those leads, you are having conversations. The next thing is, are you setting appointments with these people? Because if you're generating leads, you're having conversations, but they're not turning into appointments, then that's the problem, is you need to fix your conversation, the conversations you're having. Maybe you're just blabbing on the phone as opposed to being a salesperson and setting an appointment. But if you are, I'm gonna stop writing this just for time's sake of writing all this, is if you are generating appointments with those conversations, then that's not the problem and we can move on. Now, can you set more appointments? Can you have more conversations? Can you generate more leads? Yes, of course, but if it's not again, I'm going to highlight this up here at the top. If it is not the number one constraint or problem, then it's not what we want to focus on. Now, after appointments, I'm going to break this down even more granularly than you might expect. Are we asking for a consult? Right? So whether it's a buyer or a seller, it doesn't really matter. Are you asking for them to do a consult? Now, honestly, for most salespeople, this is a huge, easy unlock. A lot of salespeople are just afraid to actually ask for them to do a consultation. And then if this is your problem right here, then honestly, mastering the script of how to ask for a buyer's consultation or a seller's consultation, that is the only thing you need to do, and then you just need to actually do it, right? But let's say that you are asking for consults. Well, the next thing is, are you doing consults? Right? Because you could be asking people to do them, but if they're not actually doing them, that means that you're not converting somebody from that question of, hey, do you want to do a buyer strategy session, to actually doing the strategy session, right? So you have this would be a sales pitch problem. Right? You are scripting for that consultation is not getting the job done, so we would need to fix that. Right? But again, let's say that is. Next thing here is, are you asking for agreements? Right? Here's the reality is, you might do the consultation. At the end, you might just kind of like willy-nilly be like, oh yeah, we're working together, I'm pretty sure. And not ask them to commit to a buyer agreement. On a listing, it's kind of hard to do that, but I suppose you could go to listing appointments and then just not ask for them to sign an agreement at the end. That would be silly. But this would be the same thing as well too. This would be like, my eraser keeps popping up here. This would be like, ask for the close, ask for the business. Right? Ask for the business. And if you are asking for the business, but they're not signing, right? If you are not getting signed agreements, well, that means you need to close. Right? You're not actually closing the deal. And if you are getting agreements signed, are you opening escrow? And then if you're not next would be closing, right? Yay. And this is money down here. Let's make that green. Right, this is the bottom of the funnel here, and then money comes out the bottom. Yay. Right, so this is really it. So this is how we actually walk through. So let me walk you through this entire thing as we do with our team. All right, so now that we have this entire thing written out, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through each one of these problems and help you solve them. So you can ask yourself, well, I'm going to ask you watching this to answer the questions as we're going through. So do you have a lead generation problem? If the answer is yes, then we need to solve that particularly. Now, if I go to the next and you say, hey, are you generating leads? Okay, great. Are you having a problem having conversations with the leads you are generating? If that's the problem there, then we would talk about that. If you are generating leads and you are having conversations, but you're not setting appointments, then we can work on setting appointments from the conversations you're having. If you are setting appointments, but you are not asking for consultations, we can work on the pitch for that. If you are asking for consults, but not getting and doing them, meaning people are not saying yes, then we would work on that. And if you are not asking for agreements, we can work on that. That's an easy tweak. And then if you are not getting your agreement signed, so you're doing consults, you're asking for consults, you're just not getting the actual agreement signed, we can work on your closing there. And then your opening, escrows, and closing is going to really be for a different video. So let's walk through this. Now I'm going to talk about how you solve each individual one, or at least how I train my team to solve each individual constraint. So constraint number one being leads. If you are not generating enough leads, transparently, if you are on my team, you're not even allowed to have this as a problem because we generate so many leads for our agents. So if you're not generating leads and you're not on a team, you need to go join a team. And if you're local to Southern California and you're full-time and you're awesome, you should join Onyx Homes. if you're anywhere else, you should find the best team in your area and join them. That's the easy one. If you're solo and you do not generate enough leads, whatever you're already doing that works, do more of it. If you cannot do any more of it, which you absolutely can, then you can focus on doing it better. And if you cannot do any more or any better of what you're already doing, then you can do something new. But I can promise you for 100% certainty that whatever you are currently doing for leads, you can do more of. I promise. You could probably do 10 times more of it before it would actually be a problem. Okay? So that's leads. It's a very easy problem to solve in this business. It's very, well, let me put it like this. It's one of the hardest problems to solve. However, we solve this as, when I say we as in teams like us, and I will talk just for my team. My team solves this problem 100% for our agents. They don't have an excuse, for not allowed to have the excuse of leads. Now, the first thing is, okay, you have leads, but are you able to talk to these people on the phone? So if you're not able to talk to them on, so let's go here. Let me put this in a different color. So I'm going to do green. Let's do blue for like the advice. So I'm going to put here, join onyxhomes.com. And if you're not in Southern California, I'm sorry, find the best team in your market. Okay. Now, number two is if you're having problem having conversations, it's probably because you sound like a greasy salesperson. So in order to not sound like a greasy salesperson, we need you to go from sales-based questions to consultative sales approach. And we do this through our closer framework training. This is question-based selling. There's a whole other training link is going to be somewhere for you to go through this. But this is where you are clarifying why people are moving, so you can label their pain point, overview what they've done so far, sell the vacation, explain away concerns, and review whatever they just agreed to, review the crystal clear next step. So if an agent on my team is struggling with having conversations, we are going to have them focus on closer framework. Okay. Now, if somebody is having conversations, but they're having a problem setting appointments, let's move down to this section here with appointments. Honestly, the solution is probably also going to be closer framework, but we are going to emphasize more on the sell the vacation. You are probably going to need to practice some of your pitches, right? When you're saying, hey, let's go to a property, or let me come do a market analysis of your home, or whatever it is, about our strategy session, you're going to need to work on the actual pitch, as opposed to most people that are struggling to set appointments are reinventing the wheel on every single conversation they're having. So you need to work on your actual fine sales skills here, which is going to be inside of the closer framework as well too, right? So these two guys here kind of go together, all right? Now, if we're talking about asking for consultations, honestly, might sound silly, but we have a lot of the times our agents will be afraid to literally just ask. And a huge part of this is if you are not, let me skip to another page really quick, is if you're not confident in what you're pitching, you're not going to do it. So this is how I explain this to my team, is if you are afraid to ask. Is that how you spell afraid? We're going to go with it. If you are afraid to ask for anything, it is probably because you suck at it. So I like to explain it like this. There is where you're at now. And over here is this is a little timeline here. And from where you're at right now to sucking is going to require X reps. Now, we don't know how many number of reps you're going to need to do to go from where you're at right now to just simply sucking, because you definitely suck at whatever it is right now because you're not confident enough to do it. Now, from suck to being okay at something, you have X reps, right? And then from okay to, let's say, good, you have X reps again. And I hope you get the point here. So if I'm talking to my, and then you have great, right? And then you have excellent, and you have amazing. The point is, how many reps is this? Let me give an example. Is pitching the buyer strategy session for our sales process. Pitching the buyer strategy session is one of the most important things we train our agents on. We have a very clear pitch on it, and I'll just give it to you right now. So it is, once I have an idea why somebody moving and I want to pitch them on doing a buyer's consultation, here's the exact verbatim words that we teach our agents. It is, okay, so based on everything you've shared with me so far, here's what we do for all of our clients that are in your same position. It's this thing we call a home buyer strategy session, and we really cover three major things. We talk about, one, what our clients are doing to take advantage of the market. Number two, we talk about how we keep you protected through the entire process. And number three is we talk about how we get you the best deal possible regardless of the circumstances. Would that be a bad idea to set up? Now, that's the pitch. If you want to steal that, go for it. But what I have found is somebody has to say it, let's say 20 times or 20 reps in order to go from I don't know it at all to just sucking at it. To like, oh, well, you still suck at saying it, but like, at least you can say it now, right? And then it's probably another like 20-ish reps to go from sucking to okay. And then it's like 50 more to go from okay to good. And then it's more like 100 more from good to great, right? So here's where we're at right now is you have 20, right? 20 plus 20 plus 50 plus 100 equals 150, 170, 190. So let's just go ahead and round up to 200 times, right? And you're watching this video, so you could go back and record. It took me that much time times 200 equals this much time to not suck at it anymore, to be even great at it. So you could do this in a day, is my point, is you do not need to make this take forever. So the question I ask my agents all the time, how long do you want to suck? Just it. It's like hard reality is how long do you want to suck at this? Because I will tell you, some people will not role play this. They will not practice it at all. They will only practice on leads. Do you know how many people you're going to have to talk to pitch this 200 times? And you are practicing on leads versus role play equals practice on friends, aka free. Practicing on leads equals costs thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. It costs so much money for you to practice on leads versus just going and taking however much time this was to just get over it, right? So asking for the consult, what I'm going to write here is confidence. In two things. One is the script pitching for it, and two is actually like doing it. You need to be confident enough to pitch it, but a lot of times people do not feel confident pitching it, even if they know the pitch, if they don't feel confident doing the consultation. Okay? So that's how we get over asking for the consultation. And now if you are working on doing the consultation, if you're like, well, Christian, I am asking everybody and nobody wants to do a consultation. Well, guess what? If you're on my team listening to this, you know what I'm going to say is, if you're on my team and you say, Christian, I am asking everybody for a buyer strategy session and nobody's saying yes, you're going to hear me say, oh, okay, cool. Pitch it. Let's hear it. How does it sound? And then we're going to have this conversation yet again. And likely you're going to be somewhere in this general range of sucking. And that's your choice. It's totally your choice, 100%. Or if you don't know the script, if you don't have a script, if you don't have a proven sales process, I'm going to go kind of back to the beginning, is we need to find one. And if you're local to us, this is why we have this. I also have in our free community, you can check this out as well too. Link is going to be the description below. You can just take our sales process, make it your own, and it works, I promise. We get brand new agents doing deals within literally getting buyer agreements signed within the first 2 weeks, and they don't even know anything, but they follow the process and they're getting buyer agreements signed. So that's that one. Doing consult is you just need to pitch it, and then you need to go from suck to great. ASAP. Do not drag that sucking out. All right, so that's doing consults. Now, when you're doing the consult and you're asking for the agreement, right? Now we're down here. This one is getting a little bit more complicated. So this is when we're starting to go in for a close. Let me put my blue back in here. Right, so in this guy in here, we are asking for the agreement. So for us, we have pitch it. If you're saying, Christian, I'm doing all these consultations, but nobody's signing, and I say pitch it because we have a very clear 2-slide close at the very end of our strategy session. Right? And these tee each other up perfectly. So if an agent on our team cannot pitch this, then guess what? It's the same thing. We work only on this, and this is why this is so powerful. So let me share a story really quick. So I was sitting down with an agent on our team that is a very, very good agent. Been on our team for years and done tons and tons of deals. Started with us brand new, pretty much brand new. And this person is like, hey, I was like, they're like, hey, Christian, I'm really struggling. And I'm like, okay, well, let's break it down. And we were sitting in the conference room, broke out a whiteboard, and I'm like, okay, so let's just do this. Are you generating leads? And they said, yes, I am. Okay, cool. Are you having green dot? Are you having conversations? Yes, I'm having tons of conversations. Fantastic, cool. Are you setting appointments? Yes, I am setting appointments. Okay, cool. Are you asking for consultations? Yes, I am asking for consultations. Are you doing them? Yes, I am. Are you asking for agreements? Yes, I am. And are you getting agreements signed? And it's absolutely not. I'm like, okay, well, how many have you done? Because here's kind of the other reality here is you want to know your conversion percentages, and not just how many leads to a closed deal, but like everywhere down this list, you can say how many. So I can tell you that if you are doing, right, so this is on getting agreements signed. So let's move the blue down here, right? So we're going down here now. So the due to sign is 2 to 1. Oh my gosh. So from like what we call a buyer strategy session to a buyer agreement is 2 to 1, meaning 50% close rate, right? So this is 50% here. I'm going to erase that. And I was like, well, how many have you done? Because if she would have said, this person would have said, I've done 2, it would have been like, yeah, okay, well, let's do some more before we like try to break anything. But this person was like, no, I've done like 12 and nobody has signed. I'm like, okay, you're definitely doing something wrong. Because again, we get brand new agents getting 50% close rates on this. So I was like, okay, let's pitch this slide, right? Let's figure out what's going on here. And the reality was, this person was literally, it might be crazy, using a slide deck from 2 years ago. It was totally the wrong, it didn't even make sense what they were going. So they knew the pitch, but they didn't update the pitch from 2 years ago. So it literally didn't even make sense since the NAR changes. So what did we do? This is an amazing agent, and I love this so much. That evening, on this call, we didn't even go any further. We said, obviously, this is the problem. This is the bing, bing, bing. This is the number 1 constraint. This is why we're doing this. So what did we do? We spent it took, let's say 5 minutes to get this far into the call. We took the remaining 25 minutes of a 30-minute call, and I just said, cool, pull up slides 1 and 2, right? Pull up the slides and say this one. Nope, say it again. Nope, say it again. Say it like this, fix this word, say it again. Cool, got it, awesome. Say the whole thing again. Cool, okay, no, change this word, go, say it again. Awesome, cool, we got slide number 1 down. Let's add in slide number 2, okay? Go to slide number 1, say it, no. Remember, say it like this, cool. And literally, we just did this. We probably did 40 reps in 25 minutes. And we went from suck to okay on the call. This does not need to take forever. So on that call, we dramatically increased this person's conversion ratio. And then I said, hey, your homework assignment is do this 50 more times until you've got it dialed tonight. And they did. And the problem was fixed in a day, in a half a day. And this is something that so many people just allow to cost them tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars for so much longer than it needs to. Remember this portion that I wrote here is how long do you want to suck? It's just like, it's hard reality, but it's true. In this business, you are a 1099 contractor, I imagine, and it's 100% your choice here, right? So that's how we got this person's problem solved. Now, I know we're getting a little bit congested here, but if you're getting signed agreements, why aren't you opening escrow? I'm going to save that for another video just because I think this idea of finding what the number one constraint actually is the actual important part. How to get it from a signed agreement to an open escrow. Way too many moving pieces there for the sake of this video. But I think the biggest takeaway that I have every single time I review this with our agents is literally answering the question, you answering yourself, how long do you want to suck at this thing? And then just put in the reps. Like I said, remember, how long did it take me to actually pitch the strategy session? And then times the 200 reps it's going to take you to go from where you're at now to being great at it. Like, it's going to take not very long at all. It's maybe, I'm guessing off the top of my head, but maybe 1:30, 2 minutes max, times 200, whatever that is. Not very long. Today, you could fix the problem forever. And you might have to review it again, but guess what? Right when you fix the problem, you can come back to this and you can figure out, well, okay, well, now that I am getting agreements signed, now I'm doing deals again, great, but like, you know what? The next thing that I need to work on is I actually need to get better at setting appointments. So you might have solved, I'm really going to make this messy, but you might have solved this problem down here today, like this quarter, this month, and then next month you might realize, well, shit, I'm just not setting enough appointments. If I am setting appointments, everything else is going great, but I just need to be setting more appointments. And I'm generating enough leads, but I'm not taking those leads into conversations, or rather into appointments enough. And this is how you can use this different look at a sales funnel with your number one constraint so that you can increase your conversion over time. Now, again, if you are local to Southern California and you want to join our team, you can go to joinonyxhomes.com. And apply. If you are not local to Southern California and can't do that, no problem at all. I have a community for real estate agents that you can absolutely join. It's totally free. It's got a lot of sales training that's even way more than what we have on YouTube. It's the exact training my team uses. If you want to do that, link is going to be in the description below. I appreciate you watching this, and I hope you like the video, subscribe to the channel. I made this other video I think you're going to like as well. I'll see you there.